Hello, everybody. I'm your host today, Thomas Stoneham-Judge, leading conversation with the ForReel team on the latest movie releases. This week on ForReel, we're discussing Nobody 2, where Bob Odenkirk gives a beating more intense than a rickety wooden roller coaster. I've got Derrick Murray here, I've got Shawn here, and we've got a great show for you this week on ForReel. Guys, welcome to the conversation.
Thank you for having us.
Hello.
So, we have been getting some very interesting summer movies, some kind of fun flicks, some funny movies, and I'm quite interested in hearing your guys' take on Nobody 2. Derrick, we've talked a little bit about this, so I'm looking forward to going toe to toe with you on our perspectives. Shawn, of course, you'll weigh in as well. But you know what? Let's talk about vacations first. This movie is about Bob Odenkirk. I'm spacing his character name.
Hutch.
Hutch, yeah, sorry. Hutch is this hitman who goes on missions, kills people, action stuff, but he wants a break. He wants to take a break and take his family to a place that is nostalgic for him. And so they go on vacation where trouble it seems to keep finding him anyway. So I want to talk about vacations, and let's just talk about our own personal experiences with vacations, and start the conversation there. Shawn, what is a memorable vacation for you when you were younger?
When I was younger, my family went to Florida a lot when we were younger. So those family trips going to Disneyland, Disney World,
Disney
I believe
World, yep.
Disney World, that was a lot of fun. I have photos still up in my room to this day. Meeting the characters, I have autograph books. People give Disney a lot of crap as a company, and that's completely fair. But I think when it comes to theme park attractions and that environment and the way they make people feel in those places, I think they're just unmatched in why they are who they are, why they're the media conglomerate that they are. Like they do those theme park attractions so well. They're all over the world. I love them. I would go every time if I was visiting.
Disney certainly knows how to create experiences. They make you pay for it too.
Yeah, so yeah, it ain't cheap, but it's fun.
Yeah, Disney is not cheap, but it's about the memories. It's all
Yeah.
about making the memories. Derrick, how about you? What's a memorable vacation from when you were
Yeah,
younger?
I feel like I've been on quite a few of them. I think one that is pretty memorable just because of how close it how close proximity it is to a lot of larger events in life. I've been to New York and Washington D.C. more than once. But one of the first times we went was with my family. My dad took us, and we were actually there a month to the day before 9/11. Um, and I actually have a photo of me on the towers at the top of the towers, marked like August 11th, 2001, which is just insane. It's just so crazy. But that trip was awesome. Like we saw every major thing that you're supposed to see in New York. And all the Smithsonian's in Washington D.C., the Capitals, like this, and this was there was a world before 9/11 that people just probably don't remember, and especially now it does not exist. But most of that stuff had like full on tours, and you could just go into any building that you wanted to, and you could just tour the White House on any given day. It was fine. So yeah, it was a different time. So I have very interesting memories of that trip.
Yeah, that's great. My parents are from LA, and so we did family road trips down to LA a lot, and I remember the first one that I could remember. I was probably like what 10, and um they had asked me, this was such a weird question to me because I just didn't know anything back then, but they were just like, hey, do you guys want to go to Knott's Berry Farm? And in my 10-year-old brain, I'm thinking, why would I want to go to a berry farm? Like, what is there to do at a berry farm? Do you just like look at berries? Like, what do you do? I don't understand this request, but Sure, why not? That sounds great. Of course, anyone who knows what Knott's Berry Farm is, it's definitely not a berry farm anymore.
Yeah, very few berries these days.
Very few
Knott's Berry
berries. They do
Farm.
they do still have pastries and desserts that are berry based, and that's great. But
They
yeah,
I
no.
will say this, they do have some of the best funnel cake in Southern California.
Oh
Their
yes,
funnel
Knott's.
cake is mwah, be still my fat heart.
This is why I can't live close to Knott's Berry Farm because every day riding roller coasters and eating funnel cakes all the time. But yeah, and this is so memorable to me because this kicks off a lifelong journey of loving roller coasters, and that's just the effect that Ghost Rider has on people. So it was yeah, that was the start. That was the start of my roller coaster addiction, and I'm looking forward to in a couple weeks getting to Toronto. Of course, we're going to be doing the film festival there, but I am absolutely making time to get to Canada's Wonderland.
You do that? Do you do that every year? I feel like I've talked to you at previous years. Like I got to go to Wonderland before I head out.
Yeah, I went. I think it went last year. Was the last year that I went? I try to make time for it because I've also made it a habit of like giving myself a break in the festival and like
Yeah.
just regaining my sanity a little bit. And so I didn't intend. I don't intend on going every year, although I could. But so Alpen Fury just opened, and like I gotta ride Alpen Fury. So yeah, vacations.
I genuinely don't know how Thomas goes to Toronto and does anything other than watching movies. Like I just don't. He is the only person that goes to Toronto Film Festival and ends up watching like one movie a day. And I'm just like, what? Why are you here?
I am here for the vibes, okay?
Oh my gosh. I don't want to hear anything about your schedule ever again. I know this has nothing to do with what we're talking about, but honestly, guys, I don't know how to fit 2 movies in today. Like, shut up. Shut up. You don't have
You're
our
probably
troubles.
you're probably the most legitimate person to give me that criticism because I know you maintain your schedule. You line them up and you knock them out. Like
Yeah.
I don't know how to do that. I'll be real. I will set up a really ambitious schedule and then be like, no. I put 4 movies on this day. I'm going to 2 of these, and I'm gonna be perfectly happy with that.
No.
Yeah, we're gonna have
Anything less than 4 is a travesty, but yeah.
But then I get to go to Canada's Wonderland, and like that's an experience. So we'll be talking a lot more about Toronto here in the coming weeks. We have our curtain raisers that we're gonna start lining up, and we've all assessed the schedule and are really excited about it. Plans are in place, and so we just need to start getting screeners. I think is what we're complaining about. We just need to start getting screeners.
Screeners or tickets, one of the two.
Mm-hmm.
Screeners or tickets. That's what we need.
All right. Well, now that we've got vacation talk out of the way, let's talk about the movie that that takes a family on vacation and finds trouble. So Nobody 2. I'm gonna be super transparent here. I didn't watch Nobody, the first one. So I went into this movie with no expectations really. I don't know what to. I mean, it's an action flick, kind of the John Wick-ish action set pieces from one to another, and obviously Bob Odenkirk I like a lot, and so sure, this sounds like a fun time, and so I went into it with no expectations, and so I want to get your reactions when you left the theater. Derrick, we'll start with you. I'll let you get your thoughts out, and then Shawn will get your take.
Oh, so you want to start with the negative first? You don't want to
Yes,
go with the super positive, optimistic Shawn. Got it. Okay. So I enjoyed Nobody. I think Nobody is about as good as those types of action movies can be. I think Odenkirk really demonstrates that he has the juice to be a pretty solid action star. He's very believable. You can see the legwork and the sweat equity that he's put into becoming Hutch and becoming this kind of unkillable killing machine type of thing. And I do find that aspect really interesting. I find Bob Odenkirk to be really compelling as a lead. And I think that this one does a good job in stepping up the action. I think the action set pieces are pretty incredible. That director, I think, has a lot of great ideas and knows how to kind of execute them. If you've ever seen The Shadow Strays, it's done by the same guy, and that is just maximalist filmmaking when it comes to the way that he frames action. And I love that. However, I am really of the belief that you can't just make a bunch of action sequences and call it a movie. And if you do that and there's nothing that is worthwhile to be engaged by or interested in, and predominantly here in this case, if your characters don't change ever in the entire film, that's not fun for me. Now it's just action for the sake of action. And I've said in my review that's coming out for NerdBot, great website. But I said in my review that I'm fine with action for action's sake if that's the movie that you're selling. So the example I would give would be something like Shoot 'em Up. I don't need a good story in Shoot 'em Up because you are literally telling me this is a shoot 'em up movie. We do not give a shit about the plot. You make it very, very clear that that's the kind of movie that we make. So now it's just action for action's sake, but you've set me up for that. Nobody and nobody too don't do that.
I think John Wick is another one that I would say,
Sure.
like the first John Wick. Like, you know, you have the setup, and now you're just getting a bunch of action sequences,
right?
And that's what it is, right?
But even that one has that one has a lot more bones narratively than something like Nobody 2. And even as it does get repetitive, and it does, and I love the John Wick movies, but it's just one action scene to the next. So what I don't like is Nobody 2 trying to sell that it has some kind of thematic relevance, and it's actually trying to say something about its characters. And then you kind of have the final reckoning problem where you made all of your action sequences first, and then you tried to manufacture a featured film afterwards. And I'm sorry, but that just doesn't work. And I just didn't buy any of the things that it was trying to sell me character-wise. And I know that sounds like it's just way too harsh for something like a popcorn movie, and it might be, but the movie is just fine. At best, it's fine. I was actually kind of bored, and even though I had a lot of fun with the action sequences that it was creating, they were just they just existed, and I didn't care about anybody, and then it just makes all the stakes completely stakeless. But anyways, that's me.
I do entirely see what you're saying about manufacturing a narrative after creating the action sequences. It absolutely feels like that's what happened in this movie. But Shawn, let's get your take. Do we have a more positive view on this from you?
All right. So Derrick is absolutely right. I'm someone who is very optimistic when it comes to movies on here. If you've seen any previous episodes, I'm the guy who's like, I see where they were going with it. I appreciate it. I see where you're coming from, but I had a fun time with it. That being said,
let's go.
What is that? What is that term in wrestling where they turn heel? Is that what John Cena did this year? He turned heel.
Yes, yeah, that's right.
So that's me. This episode, I hated this movie so much.
Come to the dark side, Shawn. It's so great over here.
I can not like movies, which I know is very hard to believe based on my experience on this podcast. But I hated this movie so much. I did watch the first one, and just like Derrick, I had a fun time with it. I had no ambition to see this story go further because I thought it had everything it showed everything it needed to show. I don't think it's something like John Wick where there's a world beyond the first movie, personally. And the fact that it was coming out 4 years later, it was coming out in the middle of August, it's not a good sign. And all of those concerns were valid because I agree with a lot of what Derrick said. It's just the action scenes are fun. They know how to film action. The boat scene near the beginning, the theme park sequence at the end. I think Christopher Lloyd is in a thankless role, but he's having an absolute blast with what he's doing with the little that he has. But there's just no substance in the story. The characters are not interesting. I think the screenplay is one of the worst of the year. It is so lazy and it has every conventional type of dialogue you can have, every type of character, and you can see exactly where it's going from the moment it starts. And you think there's going to be more to it, but there's no risk, there's no reward in it. And leaving the theater, I just felt absolutely nothing. And that's unfortunate because I wanted to be proven wrong. I thought the advertisements were doing a good job of selling it as a fun type of movie that could be like the first one, but just in a summer theme. But it wasn't that. And it really sucked because I love Bob Odenkirk. I'm a huge Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul fan. I know what he's capable of. I love that he's getting lead roles, and I like that he's doing an action type of role because that's really cool to see from someone of his age. And I think he's badass and awesome and one of the best parts of the movie because he knows how to be like that. But everything surrounding him is just not up to par in the slightest. And I was very disappointed, and I did not think I would hate it as much as I did, but here we are, and that's why I was so excited to be on this episode.
I cannot wait to give Shawn a giant hug while we're standing in line for sentimental value. Morning one, it's happening. Shawn, you've got a hug. I'm so it makes me
I
so
can't wait
happy to have him on my side. This is so fun. This is gonna be great.
Can't
It's
wait.
gonna be a great moment.
This this is fun. This is fun. I actually kind of enjoyed this movie, and I get the feeling that every critic is gonna like criticize me for that, and that's fine. That's okay. I maybe we can point to the fact that I didn't see the first Nobody and didn't really have expectations. I don't know. Maybe that played a factor here. Is it the summer blockbuster of the year? Like, no, not at all. But I think I'm in that camp of what Shawn is saying, where like I see what you were trying to do. I think there are some themes in this movie about fatherhood and that relationship that between fathers and sons, and I think there was something there. It was very half fleshed out. Definitely didn't like get all the way to a good point, but I don't know. I kind of gravitated to that. I like the action, and there's I don't know. I guess I just didn't, I just had a good time with it. And that happens sometimes. I know that there are going to be a lot of complaints that we're all going to talk about, and I'm probably going to agree with you guys. But yeah, I think in the moment I enjoyed it and just kind of watched it for what it was. And I think the issues that I had with it, I didn't really clock them as like detrimental to my experience until I talked with Derrick. So
I do that to people. I have that effect.
and this is why you're a critic.
It's a skill.
So this is good. So let's dive into the movie. We're gonna go ahead and just jump into spoiler talk. I don't know how many people we might ruin this movie for, but like it's fine. We're gonna jump into spoiler talk and let's just go into it. And I want to start with the problem that we've identified, which is that narratively it's trying very hard to conform around action scenes and not necessarily have its own story to project. Derrick, let's start with you on this one. Tell me more about what you thought about the story and the themes and like how that didn't flesh out the way you expected and maybe what could have been different.
Yeah, I think to Shawn's point, I think the screenplay is really lacking, and I think it not only does it conform to the action sequences that they've created, but it's also incredibly contrived and conventional, and there is no unpredictability whatsoever in this. And I think when it comes to the story, one of the things that really frustrates me that I kind of mentioned, and I know Shawn had kind of touched on it a little bit, but like the fact that the characters do not change. When we meet Hutch, he is ostensibly the same person he was in Nobody. He's just doing wet work instead of whatever his suburban job is. So he already hasn't changed from movie to movie. And then, you know, we're supposed to believe that he wants to connect with his family. We're supposed to believe that he wants to be a father. And it all just kind of glosses over those things because it doesn't really care about them. You know, there's plenty of moments in this movie where he keeps trying to connect with his son, but then whenever they get interrupted, they just kind of forget about it and they just pretend like that's not really a big deal. And then when we get to the end of the movie and you have this conversation with Hutch and Riza and Christopher Lloyd, and they have this big sentimental moment of like, oh, you guys are better than me, and I know you guys want your kids to be, and it's like, but do you? Because I don't believe that you actually care about your children. It just, so all of those elements, I just felt like a lot of it was super undercooked and really half baked. And I just like, it's like I said, I believe Bob Odenkirk is an action star. I genuinely do. I think he does a fantastic job. Like I said, you can see the sweat equity. You can see that this man has been training for 4 years. And you can tell because they do up the action. They make him do more stuff. And he's not as limited as he was in Nobody. But there's just nothing else here. I found the story of a small town used as like a drug cartel training ground or whatever, or like a trade route, and just the this is where we get into like nitpicking, but this movie deserves it. You are a government asset who is basically the John Wick of the Nobody world. How do you not know that Plummerville is a key part of the global trade routes for drugs? How do you not know that? Every single person that you contact in this movie knows that except you. What?
This is a major plot point. Plot hole in the movie.
Explain it to me like I'm a child. Like
because they even say like his dad was there for assignment purposes. So like, how did you just never figure this out?
Knows, the government knows. Just how are you the only person that doesn't know that this is a bad place for you to go? And it just. And again, it just shows the lack of attention to detail to even care about how they're putting the story together. And it just makes everything really, really boring. And then there's like other character additions that just baffle me. We're going to talk about casting. We're going to talk about
cast is on my list to talk about for sure.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, boy.
We'll get
I got
there.
some gripes.
Shawn, let's continue talking about the story and the themes. What were your thoughts here?
Yeah, I think the family aspect is an interesting way to go about it and an interesting thing to have in the movie if it's done right. But for me, Connie Nielsen, who I like and I've seen in great roles, and I know she's a great actress, I don't know what was going on here, but I just could not get her character at all, because the whole movie is how frustrated she is with how much Bob Odenkirk is putting his work in front of his family. And then right before the third act, you think there's going to be a big confrontation, and she's like, no, I'm a part of this too. Let's do this. I'm like, so what was this whole buildup for you being so angry that he was doing this stuff? And then you're just more than happy to be a part of it later.
Shawn, I literally shouted at Thomas on the phone after we left the theater. I literally shouted at him, weren't you getting a divorce?
Yeah, like she was considering, yeah.
There are multiple times in this movie where she backtracks on this notion of how frustrated she is with him and his prioritization. And she just all the time, every single so there was the text that she wrote and then deleted, like, I'm going to support him. Okay, cool. You're being the supportive partner. And then there was the wine bottle that he brought her. And then it's just like, oh, you brought me wine. All is forgiven.
Yeah. That's what a complete 180 in the same scene. She was ready to kick his ass. And he was like, yeah, this wine. And they're about to like make love around that bed before they interrupted. It was crazy.
Right. Yes, that is a very valid point.
Yeah. And then the stuff with the son where he's showing signs of violence and you can't have that, and you're like, I've seen this a million times and it's just not interesting. I do not care about the son. The daughter was just there to be there. Like it's just a lot of nothing. And I gotta be honest, I looked at the cast of the first movie, and Connie Nielsen and I think the kids are in it. I don't remember them at all. So they could just been added and like no explanation. And I would have been like, okay, like he has a family. And them being so forgettable in the first movie and clearly not being a big part of it shows that they did not need to have such a big part in this movie. Because again, I had fun with just Bob Odenkirk doing Bob Odenkirk things. And again, Christopher Lloyd, great. But in this movie, he just had nothing going on. So yeah, it was just too much stuff going on, and a lot of the characters in this Plummerville town just awful. Yeah, we can hear your thoughts, Thomas, and then go into more characters and more of the casting, because there's a lot to talk about there. My God.
That will be the next topic.
Yes.
I agree with everything you guys are saying. Connie Nielsen's character was just, I don't understand how, like, who wrote this and thought, yeah, this tracks, this is good. Like, we're okay with this. I think that like I said earlier, I was trying to gravitate to the themes of fatherhood, that father-son relationship. I thought that they were going to do something with that. I also saw this interesting theme about, I guess, reaching across the aisle, because who's the villain guy? What's his name? Not the villain, but the mayor of the town. So there's this like rivalry between, like, he's a bad guy at first, but then they want the same things, and so they reach across the aisle. The boys are boys. After they have a fight, it's like, you good? Shake hands, cool. They do the, that kind of thing. And so, like, there are these interesting themes about wanting the same things and reaching across the aisle. There's interesting themes about, like, father-son relationships, and they just are started and never finished. Like, there's these things go nowhere. There's no point that is ultimately made about these things, and it is kind of lazy with the writing. So I think that I just held on to this idea that they were going to do something with that for the whole movie, and then ultimately didn't. And by that time, I was just having a good time. So, I guess
in particular too, though, those characters in particular are another demonstration of just how lazy and how poor the screenwriting is, because you can delete that character, Ortiz and his son. You can delete them from the movie, and absolutely nothing changes in the movie. The movie unfolds exactly the same. Like, there's no reason for them to be there. You can do the same thing with Colin Hanks' character. Like, him being the sheriff or whatever. Like, you could delete half of the characters from this movie, and it would still function almost identical. There would be no change whatsoever.
And then the movie still lived an hour and a half, so you can see how desperate they were to beef up the runtime, because they saw how little they had.
Yeah. Yes. The fact, I said this to Thomas too, but the fact that The Naked Gun and Nobody 2 have almost the same amount of runtime, and there is a better story in The Naked Gun than there is in Nobody 2, is a bad sign.
Yeah.
RZA showing up, like, he really had nothing to do in this movie. He didn't have to be there. Who I was mentioning before, Wyatt Martin, as the character Wyatt Martin, played by John Ortiz. Anyway, yeah, it's just so many ideas started and just not finished. And I do entirely agree with Derrick and his observations about characters not changing. And this is usually a really detrimental point for me watching a movie. If you're going, like, you have to have some character development. That is a massive thing for me to enjoy a movie, is to see where a character starts and how the events in the movie changes them to whatever they become at the end. And yeah, Hutch is just the same Hutch at the beginning and at the end. So there's no character development with him. There's no real character development with the family. Nothing develops. It really, it's not great storytelling. And and the most egregious part of this whole thing, or at least one of the most egregious parts about this whole thing, is the villain. Sharon Stone.
Baby girl, no. Baby girl, no.
You can see her trying to do something, like, erratic and, like, menacing. You can see the effort trying to be there, but I don't think the assignment was interpreted properly. And so this is, I think, a great segue into talking about cast and characters, and how we feel about that. Shawn, let's start with you. And I don't know, maybe the villain's a great place to start here.
I gotta be honest. I'm just gonna let this out there. I thought that was Cherry Jones for the whole movie. It really looked like Cherry Jones. And then I found out it was Sharon Stone. I was like, okay. Just I did not care. I didn't care about her motivation. I didn't care about her being an adversary to Hutch. There was no connection, which I think is a big problem with this movie. The only connection is that Hutch just pisses them off. I just wish there was more of a personal connection and more at stake. Like, she just deals with cash and drugs and all this stuff. Like, that's not interesting to me. And that scene, again, this is a nitpick, but the scene where she was dancing as the sheriff is explaining how dangerous she is to Hutch. I was like, you're trying to embrace this. You're trying to embrace something that's just not there and just wasn't working for me. So I could not care less about Sharon Stone's character. But to me, the biggest offense was Colin Hanks, because that man has one of the least intimidating faces I've ever seen in my life. And you're trying so hard to make him look like a sexist, racist, small town cop, and it's not working at all. And by the time it's his final scene in the movie, spoiler alert, where they're confronting him at the theme park, and he's like, I got you guys right where I want you. Like, I'm laughing out loud because watching him deliver those lines is just absurd. There is so many other people that could have been cast. I don't know who thought Colin Hanks was a good choice for this. It didn't work for me at all. And again, it's the same cliche trope with no substance to it, where you think the sheriff and his kid are the bad guys, but they're not so different than Hutch and his family and his son. It's like, I've seen this so many, like all they have for the sheriff was, he didn't ask for this. This is his dad's debt. He's just paying it off. Like, so surface level, so boring. There's nothing to it, and there's so many more interesting routes they could have taken, but they just go the very conventional way, and it just creates it creates just a forgettable piece of crap. I don't know how else to put it.
This is great, Derrick. Let's get your take on these characters.
Everything Shawn said. Agree wholeheartedly. I completely agree. Colin Hanks is easily one of the least intimidating people on the face of the earth, and that's not a knock to say that he can't be villainous. I'm sure he can, but
he was great in season 6 of Dexter.
Sure.
I know it's that specific type of villain that you do,
Yeah, he and I even leaned over to my friend when I was watching it, and I was like, dude, he looks so much like his dad. And like, please name me a Tom Hanks villain role.
Elvis.
Okay, all right. But some would say he's not the villain of this story. I want to talk about another movie I can't stand. Jesus.
Yes.
But yes, to your point, like there is nothing intimidating about him whatsoever, and I'm always down for somebody to try to work against hype, and that's great. Like, risk things, try things, but you need way stronger material, and you need a way better character for you to fill this role, because you were not believable for a second. I found Sharon Stone to be absolutely insufferable. I hated every moment she was on screen. I think she rivals the villain in Madam Web, and there are even equivalents of horrible, horrendous ADR that feels like they very clearly didn't give her enough to do, and so they had to go back and ADR all this stuff. And I don't know that she actually says lines in the movie. I think all of it is recorded in voiceover and ADR afterwards, because I don't know what she's doing. I have no idea what she's doing. And I'm sure she had a blast. She looks like she's having a lot of fun, and great, get your money, girl. But I am not having fun watching whatever it is you think you're doing, because I hated every second of it. She is awful in this
and
movie.
it's so funny because the climactic scene at the end, where I don't know, she has the two girls with her, and they're just kind of her like wing people, bodyguards, whatever, and that whole sequence, I'm thinking the whole time, like, isn't he over there with a gun? Like, couldn't he just kill them? And you know what happens? He just kills them. And Sharon Stone still thinks she could be super menacing. And I'm like, he still has a gun.
Yeah, I don't understand what it was she was doing. And you can tell that even the film itself doesn't actually believe that she's menacing, because
Right.
they need 6 characters to tell you that she's menacing. They can't just show you her they're showing her dancing as her being menacing, but you straight up, there are at least 3 people in this movie that talk about her and do like an exposition dump about how frightening and terrible and horrible and scary she is. And then every time you see her, you're just like, is the villain in the room with us right now? Because I don't think so. I don't buy it for a second. So yeah, I hated every second of her screen time. And I like Sharon Stone. I do. I genuinely do. But I couldn't stand her in this movie.
Yeah, she that was a rough character here. I yeah, I agree with everything you guys are saying. I don't know why I had such a good time in this movie. It's just I don't know why. I still like these things just didn't bother me so much in the film. But let's inject a little bit of positivity into this conversation and talk about the one thing this movie does have going for it, which is the action sequences. Do you guys have like a favorite sequence in the film, or one that really like stood out to you as like I really enjoyed that, like that was the set piece I enjoyed most?
The theme park obviously has the most creativity with it, and I'll give them that. All the action is in focus, in frame. Sorry, in frame. Yeah, you said the director is a very established action director, and you can see that. So, and it is different directors between the two movies, but it does feel very cohesive, which I did enjoy. Even that scene earlier on the boat, I like how much they use, even though it's so stupid that they're pretending that the other people on the boat can't see or hear what's going on. It's just so dumb, but that's movies. But I do like how much they use the environments around them. People are falling off the boat. They're using banisters, items all over the place. Like they're doing creative things. It's not just fist on fist action. So I like the creativity the action sequences go in and the way they escalate. You know, I'll give them that. Yeah, the theme park thing, you know, they're doing cool things with the mirrors and it, you know, I'm a sucker for a good Home Alone type kind of action sequence, even with Sky, you know, it reminds me of Skyfall too. Like, you know, they kind of got me there. It was that section was winning me over because it was just fun. But nothing much else, not much else. Sorry.
Yeah. Derrick, what about you? What stood out to you about the action sequences?
I would agree. I liked the boat scene. I think that scene is very funny, and I think it's a lot of fun. And I don't mind movie logic gags like that because those are things that just make the action more interesting, right?
Yeah.
So having an old couple with headphones and they can't hear, and the boat is just going through the tour while this whole fight is happening in the background. Those types of action gags, I'm actually really into. And I actually really find those to be a lot of fun. So I think that scene and the way that it's framed and the way that they utilize all the different parts of the boat, very fun, very interesting. I had a great time with that one. And then, yeah, I'm a sucker for a Home Alone climax as well. I think anytime you can just find new creative ways to booby trap things that don't have booby traps is awesome and a lot of fun. And that whole theme park sequence, minus Sharon Stone and her wannabe Kill Bill goons, that whole sequence outside of that is really, really good. That's the most fun this movie ever gets. Outside of that, everything else, like, okay, the arcade fight, the elevator, all of those, like, they're fine. And you can see tinges of Timo is his name. You can see tinges of the things that he does really well. I think he flexes a little bit better in something like the Shadow Strays, which, to be fair, is equally as long and is kind of underdeveloped as a story, but that action is infinitely better, and the lead and the way the journey the lead is going on is a little bit more interesting. But Timo is a maximalist filmmaker to almost a detriment. It almost hurts the storytelling because he's just trying to do things as big and as loud as he possibly can. So I think the theme park scene really worked. I think that's probably the best part of the movie. But I also have some gripes about that too. I think the way Connie Nielsen's character shows up in here,
no.
the RZA at the cabin, all of those things are just, there are so many better with the random dog. Okay. Can we talk about this?
Here we go. We can talk about it. Let's go.
Can we talk about this? How do you have a dog and still manage to fuck up that character? How do you mess up a dog as a character in a movie? It is one of the most impossible things to do to make a dog uninteresting. Everybody loves dogs in movies, and I have never cared less about a dog on screen. Again, explain it to me like I'm a child. How do you mess this up?
Well, you introduce it and not do anything with it, and then just kind of haphazardly incorporate it into an action sequence. Ta-da! That's
It's
how.
insulting. Like,
Right? It is. It's so insulting. Like, look, again, I know I keep saying this, but like, if you're gonna be maximalist and you're gonna just take things to 11, how do you not use your dog properly? I just don't understand it. I'll just say it here. Listen, I don't get paid to fix movies, and I'm not, as much as I do it, I promise you, I do not give a shit about my fan fiction. I'm not a filmmaker. I don't need you to make the movie that's in my head. It's fine. I don't need you to do that. But when I see things that are so easily fixable, to just give you an extra half star in this movie, I gotta say it out loud. How much better would this be if the daughter actually bonds with the dog when everybody tells her, oh, because the whole theme of this, right, is the dogs will only trust people that make them feel like there's good in the world. There is not a single character in this movie that can do that except the daughter, who doesn't know any better. So right there, you're landing on your theme and you're making good on your promise. So the daughter bonds with the dog, takes it home to the cabin, and instead of RZA showing up in the trees as a random samurai, the dog is actually the one that helps save them. And now you give the dog something to do, and now there's a reason that the dog is in the movie. How much more sense does that make? I just, and then it cascades, because then it just gets better, because then you don't have Connie Nielsen randomly showing up at the theme park for absolutely no fucking reason.
No reason.
You have her waiting in the woods to take care of whatever the dog doesn't kill. And that is a mama bear protecting her children. That makes way more sense for you to say the line.
I will tell you, the one way this movie subverted my expectations was sending Connie Nielsen to the theme park. I was not expecting that. Why are you here? Don't you have kids at the house with, this mob after you?
No, she thought her eldest son would take care of them.
Your eldest
literally says that.
Oh my gosh, girl. There's so much flawed with this, because you not only left your kids to fend, because you didn't know RZA was there. So you left your kids to fend for themselves against a mob, and you went to a theme park to save your assassin husband with a dart gun. That whole progression of events was subverted my expectations. I wasn't expecting that, and I'm saying this as a detriment. That was not supposed to be how this went.
I hated it so much.
So problematic.
And again, her, because you're right, Shawn. She literally looks at him and she's like, "You got this." And it's like,
yeah, it's supposed to be this big moment. He does a pause, and he's like, "Yeah, Mom, I got this." And then he doesn't do anything. He doesn't do anything.
Nothing.
It's all RZA.
Yeah, this whole movie is about not having him be violent and not having him get into violent confrontations. And your resolution to that is, yeah, you got this, right? You just,
assassins that are probably coming. Yeah,
you're just gonna kill 4 assassins with a Jenga piece. You got it. You're good.
Okay,
John Wick. Okay.
And I hate being that person that wants to turn every action movie into an overexpression of absurdism, right? Because I can see a really absurd version of this movie that you just lean into the weird plot points and the strange stuff about it. It just goes over the top, right? I could see a version of that, but I'm going to also try not to write my own fan fiction here. But
it's again, if you're going to do it, then let him booby trap the goddamn cabin.
Yeah, exactly.
Just let him do it. You did it in Violet Night, and it was great. So just let him do that, and then it makes more sense, and then you don't have to change it. They're just, again, it's not necessarily creating fan fiction of oh, well, this wasn't the movie I wanted, so I'm going to fix it. No, these are really basic action 101 things that you can do, to just enhance. Like, you don't even have to change anything. You're just moving characters around to put them in places where they should be, instead of, I don't know. I genuinely don't know what they were thinking in the way that they created this.
It's so interesting because this feels like a movie that should have come out 2 years after Nobody,
Yeah.
not 4 years. This feels like the underdeveloped, rushed project, like, strike while the iron's hot, get the sequel out there kind of movie. In which I mean, I'd still feel frustrated about all these problems, but like I would also be like, okay, well, that's just Hollywood. They have money to make, and they're exploiting this franchise now. But the eye roll Shawn just did.
But it's just, I would love to meet the person that pitched this to executives, that we're gonna make a sequel to a movie that came out during COVID 4 years later that was good, but no one has ever clamored for a sequel for, and we're gonna put it out in the middle of August, and it's like, and you're gonna make money off of this. I don't understand the logic and the thinking behind that. It's crazy.
It's fascinating because I see this movie in the same position as movies like Novocaine, or Love Hurts, where like it's just like filling the movie calendar, the movie release calendar. It's filler for this summer. Like, there are better things coming out, but in the meantime, here, have this, and that happens, I guess, and it's unfortunate.
Yeah, like Mortal Kombat came out at the exact same time as Nobody, and that's also a movie we're getting a sequel to 4 years later, but that is more warranted because Mortal Kombat's an established franchise, and I think they believe they can make money off that, and that'll be, that's yet to be seen. But Nobody getting a sequel never felt natural to me.
Mm-hmm.
And this movie clearly feels like, if maybe it's money laundering, I don't know, I really don't know what the more we talk about, the more it's like they put no effort into this.
This movie is the manifestation of Plummerville.
Yeah.
Like, they're just movies where you're just watching, like, nobody cared at all. No effort was put, and they were just like, we're gonna put what we have in theaters, and there are people that are just gonna look at the action sequences and have fun with it. That's great for them, but for me, I'm just sitting there. And Derrick and everyone and all of us are sitting there, and we see how little it actually is giving as a movie. And that's very unfortunate, because we want every movie we see to be the best version of itself. Mm-hmm. And when you see people clearly not putting in the effort they should be compared to other people that could make a much better movie if they were given those reins, it hurts more than anything, because there is potential for a Nobody franchise. We've seen it with John Wick. When the effort is put in and people behind and in front of the camera care so much about what they're doing, but none of that is here in Nobody 2.
Yeah, and I think they care. I just think they care about the wrong things. And I actually, to your point too, I think we're actually going to see that quite a bit. I think because you mentioned COVID, and I think there's a lot of reach back to try to dig through that archive of the things that didn't get the opportunity to grow into a money-hungry franchise that they've always wanted it to be. And because they couldn't do that 2-year gap, right? It came out in 2020. And then once you get to 2022, everybody's still kind of recovering. And then you get the writer's strike. And so now, I know we used to say, oh yeah, survive until 2025. I don't know that that's necessarily true, because I feel like this has been a pretty okay movie year. But I think that what we're seeing now is everybody's reaching back into that 2020 dead space and just saying, oh, we can pluck all this stuff out. We wanted to do this, so now we can do it. Now we're not restricted by anything. And I think you're going to get a lot of diminishing results from that, because, there is nobody was clamoring for this. Nobody asked for this. Mortal Kombat, sure, I understand why you're doing it, and that's more of a video games rights thing. I think that movie is also going to be awful, but we stand for Carl Urban here, so I'll be seated. But yeah, so I think we're going to actually see this quite a bit, and I think we're going to see this a lot. And I think that this is an example of what we're going to get from that, and that's not a good thing.
Mm-hmm. I was just thinking, maybe it shouldn't have been called Nobody 2. It should have been called Nobody Cares.
Yeah.
And then you can play with that title however you want.
Yeah.
Geez. Yeah. So lots to talk about with how frustrated we were with this movie. I think you guys make some very valid points about the place this movie's in. Like, do we need a sequel to this? Not really, but if you're gonna do a sequel, why did we miss all these like really good opportunities here? Something that I admitted to Derrick that one of the things I was thinking about in this movie, like as I'm actively watching it, is like what I would do for the next one, which probably isn't a good thing to be paying attention to while you're actively watching that movie.
Yeah.
Because I could just like I could see this becoming maybe not a superhero franchise, but like the this becoming a family thing. Obviously, they are setting the son up as like being the junior violence guy, and he has to learn how to hone that. So like there's potential for him to be a really interesting character going forward. If the mom could just figure out what she wants in life, then maybe there's a really good opportunity for her to be a kind of the assassin type. But the daughter should have befriended the dog, and she could just be like the animal whisperer, like. So I could see like this like Incredibles kind of family developing. And I just spent so much of this movie thinking, like, if they do this right, like you could go there, you could go into a Nobody 3 and have like and approach it like the Incredibles. And I think that would be pretty cool.
Can I tell you though, Thomas, and I don't mean to yuck your yum, but
no, you're good.
that's what Nobody 2 should have been already.
It should have. And then maybe that's why I was thinking about it so actively while I was watching.
You haven't seen Nobody, but the big ending and the big reveal of Nobody is that they all now know that their dad is an assassin, and they all embrace the fact that their dad is an assassin. Like there's a whole action sequence in the house where he is now protecting his family. Like they all get it now. So that's how the movie should have started. Your three, the third movie that you're trying to make, is literally the movie that should have been the sequel.
Yes, and I think you're right. Like that's exactly why I was probably thinking about it so much in this movie, and it is a bit of a shame that so many opportunities were missed here. Like so many. And again, kind of to the point of like, you guys had 4 years to figure this out and come up with a good story. What happened?
Yeah.
Let's get to final thoughts. Shawn, let's just kind of wrap it up and give us your final like rating for Nobody 2.
Oh god. Yeah, I mean this really hurts to say, but like I would give it a 3 out of 10. I was not a fan of it at all. And besides some small positives, certain characters, the action sequences, there is little to nothing that I enjoyed from this movie. And I'm very disappointed because it wasn't high on my list, but I was very interested in seeing what they could do with the potential that they had. And that sucks to say, but that's how I feel.
That's fair. That's valid. Derrick, how about you?
This is going to be a first because I don't think anybody on this show has ever rated a movie lower than I did. And God, it feels so good. It feels so good. I love just not being the only villain on the story. It's great. So I'm gonna give it a 2.5 out of 5, which would be about a 5 out of 10. It's really just survived by Odenkirk, who I think really does come into his own here. I like I've said before, I genuinely buy him as an action star, and I think he genuinely loves this character, and that's enough to power it through to be at least watchable. And I like Timo as a director. I think he's probably wrong for this, but I like him as an action director. I'm down for the Shadow Strays 2. Make it happen, bro. Let's go. So yeah, but yeah, outside of this, like it's a movie that I think for Thomas, it's a movie that you can have a little bit of fun while you watch. And then by the time you get home, you have basically forgotten that you've watched a movie, and it's just gone from your memory. And you couldn't even remember the lead character's name. So
no, I really couldn't.
That should tell you the staying power of Nobody 2. So yeah, so I mean 2.5 out of 5. I think that's about as good as it can get. But honestly, if we talked long enough, Shawn could convince me to bring it down to a 3 out of 10.
I never thought I'd hear that sentence. Shawn could convince me to bring it down. Wow.
Oh, we're making history here. Oh my gosh, guys. So like, you're right about the story. It's not great. It's not a good story. You're right about the character development. Nobody develops, and half of this cast isn't even necessary for this movie. You're right about just the villain and how much this is just not giving, and it's not like, and the action is fun. You guys are right about everything. I don't know why I enjoyed it. I really legitimately cannot explain. Like, I even going back and like um retrofitting these perspectives onto my watching experience, I'm still like, yeah, but it was kind of fun, And so I'm gonna have to watch it a second time and like see if these issues like actively in my brain changes how I feel about it. But yeah, I don't know. I'm landing positive-ish on it, even though all of these concerns are entirely valid, and we should have gotten a totally different movie. I think just kind of a knee-jerk rating, I'm probably going like a 6 out of 10. So like, I agree with that halfway point. Like, there's a lot of problems with it, but I'll knock it just a little bit above the half to land favorable, at least on that scale. So, and I don't know why.
Like what you like, Thomas.
Yeah, no shame.
I mean,
all
Shawn
right.
and I are going to shame you forever, but it's fine. It's fine.
You're still shaming me over Twinless, and so that's
I
another
most
one.
certainly am. I most certainly am, sir.
I really can't wait to watch Twinless again. I need to see what I missed in that movie. Anyway, guys, all right, we'll go ahead and wrap it up. Let's just do some plugs really quick. Shawn, what's on your content calendar? What should people look forward to from you?
So I do have my Nobody 2 review that I'm going to be getting to ForReel later today, and you guys can see that very soon. You'll hear same thoughts here, but in video, in TikTok form, which is going to be fun. Obviously, we have TIFF coming up, so we're going to be getting a lot of content out for that in the next month. I'm on Letterboxd, S_Peer13, Twitter, Shawn Peer, Shawn Peer 2 or X. Yeah, that's where you can find me, and yeah, all my thoughts on movies are there. So yeah, if you like my thoughts on Nobody 2 and you want to hear more, you know where to find me.
Yeah, speaking of it's so funny because speaking of Twitter, I put a poll out on Thursday for like what I wanted to see that night, and it was between Nobody 2 and a rewatch of Weapons. And let me tell you how close the rewatch of Weapons almost beat Nobody 2.
I think you made the wrong choice, if I'm being honest.
Yeah. The things I do for this podcast.
Yeah.
Derrick, what are you plugging?
So you guys can find me on pretty much all socials at DROK Comedy. It's DROK Comedy. That'll be Letterboxd, Instagram, Twitter, Blue Sky, Threads, whatever. You can find me on Facebook, just Derrick Murray. You can find all my written content on nerdbot.com. Absolutely insane amount of reviews coming out before we get hit with TIFF. So I think I wrote 4 yesterday, and I've got like 3 or 4 more that I have to do because apparently every film that had premiered at Sundance is coming out on August 22nd. I don't know what is happening, but it's like 5 Sundance films and 4 Cannes films are all dropping on Friday. Or Friday the 22nd. So I've got a lot of catching up to do as far as writing stuff. But and then after that, it's all TIFF all the time. So you can check out all my written work on nerdbot.com. You can check out all the great content that we have coming for you for real with all my friends who are movie fans. These episodes and the TIFF stuff is coming. It's gonna be crazy here in the next couple of weeks. So I'm really excited for that.
It's so true. I'll just echo that. I am waist deep in TIFF planning. That's what it's going to be. I'm setting up the curtain raisers with all my friends and movie fans. I'm trying to figure out what movies we want to publish on, and you can find, of course, all of that at thisisforreal.com, and I'll put links to our socials in the description as well. And if you happen to be watching this and you're the publicist for Wake Up Dead Man, we need tickets. Okay.
Call me.
Yo, let us know. We would be happy to give all the coverage of that. So yeah, anyway, we're gonna be
that or Frankenstein, so that way I don't have to kill one or the other. I'll take either one. So if you're listening, Netflix.
Yes, exactly. And if you are listening to this and you're the P&I programmer at TIFF, I'm not going to say what I think I want to say. How dare you conflict Wake Up Dead Man and Frankenstein? Like that was vile.
They're
Okay.
sitting there just like fingers together, like laughing.
Yeah.
You have to know someone looked at that and said, this is going to be really fun. They're going to hate us and I'm going to enjoy it. Like that's clearly what happened when that was
And then
scheduled.
someone said, do you think they'll hate you enough? And they were like, no, maybe not. We should put the smashing machine on there too and just triple up. We should just...
You know there were other days in the festival, right?
Yeah,
like,
right.
no, it's not just on a Saturday.
Right? Like the whole, I know this is totally has nothing to do with Nobody Too, and this is a totally
Right.
different discussion. But the fact that the programmers literally looked at Friday and Saturday and were like, guys, these are the only days of the festival. Our festival is 2 days.
2 days. We're gonna put
Not
all
2
the
weeks.
And that's
2
us.
days, and not even the full days. It's 2 mornings, and that's it. We're cutting everything else off after that.
It's oh man. The
nightmare.
choices we make in the torture we put ourselves through for this, but it's all for you guys who are listening, so thank you. Anyway, we are tuning out here. Catch us next week on ForReel, and we'll look forward to talking about whatever's out then. All right, see you later.